welcome to Ancient Astrology with Sam and Verity.
Hi, I'm Sam Bakewell.
And I'm Verity Hebbs. And today is episode 5 on the sun. So we thought we would show you the rulership and detriment, fall and exaltation of the sun.
Okay, so the sun is in rulership in Leo and is exalted in Aries. It's in detriment in Aquarius and in fall in Libra.
And I guess, interestingly, there's only one sign that it rules and is in detriment in.
Yeah,
whereas,
just like the moon.
Yeah. Whereas other planets
our
have
two luminaries. Okay, so we're going to look at sect to start off with.
Yep.
And I have a running clock here. So at the moment, the sun is in the 9th house in Leo.
Yep.
And so we would go from the ascendant to the descendant, even though the descendant isn't depicted here. It is the opposite to the ascendant, which would be 1 degrees and 09 minutes of Gemini. And so that would be our horizon line. So you can see that the sun is well and truly above this line. So this chart, somebody was born at this time, this would be a diurnal chart. So if we take it to the next hour, and the sun is still above the horizon line. So this is our new horizon line, and it is above there. So it's still a diurnal chart. So now we have the sun at 11 degrees and we have the ascendant line and the descendant line at 9 degrees and 54 minutes.
Right.
So we are still in the diurnal. We still have a diurnal chart because it's still above that horizon line.
Cutting it close.
Yeah. So now we have a nocturnal chart. Because we have 22 degrees and 27 minutes of Aquarius, and the opposite side would be the descendant, which would be 22 degrees Leo and 27 minutes.
And so like at 6:30, perhaps the sun, like it might still seem like daylight because it's not nighttime yet. Outside, the sky might still have the sun sort of up a little bit, but because it's below that line, they are
sunset chart. But the sun has gone below the horizon line at this point. You might still just get a glow. Okay, so now we are in a nocturnal chart here. The ascendant is Pisces and the descendant would be Virgo at 6 degrees. And so keep going along, and this is still nocturnal, and we still have a nocturnal chart here, and then in another hour we would have a diurnal chart.
So even though it becomes 6:30, which is like the morning, it's still considered a nocturnal chart because the sun was below.
Because the sun, I think sunrise is 7:12, maybe. I think it's around that at the moment for here in WA, in Perth.
And and it just kind of shows how close some people can come to one side or another.
For
they
sect.
need to know their time.
So that the sun depicts whether the chart is a diurnal or nocturnal sect. So that's all I wanted to talk to you about with the sect at this point. So the sun represents your reputation.
Reputation, power and glory.
Boundless energy. So somebody who has the sun in the first house, you'd think that they would have a lot of energy, or they're quite energetic. Your father, men and husband for women, or even for men, in a same-sex relationship. And the king and prime minister. Now that would be mainly for mundane astrology, and for predictions that I would use when I would be looking at, let's say, the sun at the moment is in Leo. So you would expect that the king and the prime minister have got a very good reputation and they're doing quite well at the moment.
Right.
That's just without looking at the any aspects.
Or they're at least, in the spotlight, if not being seen positively.
So shall we talk about reputation or recognition? Recognition,
because
probably.
sun can also represent fame and things like that. So
it's the type of attention you receive and it shows those who post on social media a lot, because not all of us are going to be famous.
Yes.
So
and then some people love to post like what they've eaten. Just all sorts of
so if you got the
information.
sun angular or even succeeding, I'd expect that you would be somebody that's interested in posting, especially if it's connected to the 10th house of public attention anyway. And it shows
so maybe their profiles will be public instead of private, things like that, or they just post a lot.
Especially 10th house suns. You know, they're like, if you've got your sun angular somewhere, that's normally telling me that you are famous in your own pond for something.
Right. And maybe if it's 10th house, would that mean that it's sort of like maybe they have more of a career in social media or things like that as well?
Well, they could also have their own business, because the sun and being so powerful will show somebody who has their own business or is in a managerial sort of position, especially if the sun is in the 1st house and the 10th house. Right. That's, to me, I can tell straight away that person's going to have their own business. Even if Saturn is doing something like opposing it, or squaring it, they will still have their own business sometime, and just Saturn is probably going to say later in life. Or it could be through hard work. Or labor intense
to learn their skill
business. Okay, so the sun is extremely powerful. It's the path of the sun known as the ecliptic, and that's where we find our constellation of the zodiac. And the sun determines the length of daylight and our seasons, and so we can't survive without the sun. So that's how important the sun is even in our natal chart, because it represents your father. You know, you can't be born without your father and mother. So the sun and the moon are very significant in your natal chart. And so the sun and Leo are associated with royalty and leaders, authorities, head of an organization, so that can also be a woman. So if you have a strong sun, you know, people are going to look, especially if it's in a cardinal sign, you know, people are going to look at you and just expect that you're going to lead. Actually, let's go to a chart. Here we have the sun in Leo. And so the Leo is a sign rising, and the sun is in rulership in the 1st house. So that's a very powerful person, somebody who will do what they want to do. You know, so they are going to achieve in this world. And the places where the sun rules, which would be the exaltation, which would be the 9th house, would be somewhere where you would expect that they would be very interested in, or very important, or it's a significant area, or gets a lot of activity.
So would that be like teaching or higher education? Things like that?
All that, higher education and overseas journeys, you know, long distance journeys. And so this lady has gone on a big pilgrimage, and she has taught in her own business as well. And, you know, we do have Mercury that's conjunct here, so she is an author also.
Wow.
So this 9th house is very significant to her. And naturally, we would also look at any planets that make an aspect to the sun. But there's nothing here that's making an aspect, not with the 7 visible planets anyway.
Oh, that's interesting.
You also find that they're quite self-assured as well. You know, when you find the Lord of the ascendant in rulership in the 1st house, and you know, they have a class about them also. And life is about them. What's important to them, they will do. I'm not saying that they're not considerate to other people's needs, but they are important to themselves. If that makes sense.
That did. That's really interesting.
Okay, we've got another chart. So because this one, it has it's a Leo rising and the sun in Pisces in the 8th house.
Yep.
So we have 3 houses we can work with. And so we can start a dialogue here. And so the important thing, so all Leos, you know, they want to be generous, like that the Leo in with the sun in Leo in the 1st house. So that's very easy for that lady to be generous, you know, because the sun is saying, yes, I want to be generous and I can be generous. It wants fame, so of course she gets fame. So this is a little bit different because it's in the 8th house. And so it's, you know, Leo is generous, but when it's in the 8th house and it's not working with the sign, there's that could be that lack of generosity, or he can't be generous for whatever reason. So all the Leo traits are taken away a little bit. But also, you know, Leos want to shine and they want to be recognized, and they're not afraid of being in the public eye.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't I wouldn't think that this person here would be like that, even though that may happen from time to time. It's probably somebody that doesn't really want to be in the public eye. So the sign and the planet are working in harmony. However, it is still in its succeedant house. So we have Aries here. So this 9th house is still very significant to this person, and that would be travel or long distance travel. And he does travel quite a bit. And education. So he does have a higher education. And what else is it? The 9th house.
So it's kind of like law, things like that as well, is it?
Well, anybody that is a professional, probably, you know, the 9th house. Religion, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you. So he does come from a religious family, and but he doesn't follow, he's a modern in his religion, has a modern concept. And I just put this trine in here just to show you that the moon is significant also. And we would also look at the houses that the moon rules to what other areas are significant for this native. But it also just tells me that his mother, the moon, is really significant and important. And it is also the exalted lord of the 10th house. And also this is the father, because it is placed in the 4th house of the father. So we've sort of jumped along here a bit, but it's hopefully for all different levels, you'll get something out of each of these lessons.
And maybe family as well, because there's that connection between themselves and the 4th house. So they're close to, or have like ideals with family, like that.
Yes, but also the moon would be telling me that. With the family, that family is really important to him.
House.
So most Leos, the traits are to be generous. So that comes very easily for them. We don't actually talk about the joys. We haven't with any of the planets, but the sun rejoices in the 9th house. So if you found that at somebody who, who all that 9th house topics are going to be quite significant for that sun person, and you often find that they're quite spiritual, or they're religious. So
open to it.
What I wanted to have a look here, this is going to be in our Venus charts as well, but you know, the ascendant is Taurus, and we have Venus and the moon, which rules a Taurus. So we have Venus in Leo, and so we're still getting this Leo, we're getting the sun traits of generosity and recognition, and as in a Venus manner to get the recognition. So this lady, you know, comes with very long nails, you know.
So like the aesthetics.
She's quite tall. So you normally find when the sun is angular, that person is tall, and they're tall in their clan, not tall in their in society, tall in their clan. So this is saying something about height because it's in the sign of Leo. However, the sun is 12 signs behind. So there's some, so that would perhaps for me, that would be a question mark. Okay, what's going on here with the sun? And so she is tall, but she is very tall, over 6 foot, but she's short in her clan.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So that's only, so the sign is trying to tell you something about the
Yes.
native, how she looks, because it's the Lord of the Ascendant and with the Leo trace. And she's generous. You know, she loves bringing gifts and things like that, as you would expect from a Venus, somebody ruled by Venus. But it's a Leo trace that I wanted to sort of share and look at. I wanted for people to keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's interesting how it plays out. And I guess because there's only one sort of planet, so one sign in rulership of the sun, which is Leo. I mean, it's exalted in Aries, but it's only sort of 2 aspects to look at instead of a lot of the other ones. It's 3, so it can kind of go all over the
exactly.
chart.
So
It's
you've
quite
got a lot more
emphasis on the Leo and the Aries
dialogue
signs.
with other planets or
Yes.
other signs and planets, because they're ruling, you know, 3 or 4 houses.
Exactly. Yeah, you can really kind of go
Yeah.
all over the place. Whereas with that chart, it's sort of, it's very like there's that sign and there's that sign. And especially if you've got the Leo in the first house.
You're not working with much.
Leo rising.
3 houses at the most. But then don't forget, you have to look at the aspects as well. And then you have to look at the houses that planet that is an aspect to the sun or whatever planet you're looking at rules, and then that starts another dialogue of information.
It was interesting, the first chart you showed, because there wasn't really any planets aspecting it. So it was kind of quite clear, wasn't it, what was happening?
And she has achieved at quite a young age as well. And you know, like we have other planets in the natal chart as well, so it's not all about the sun.
No, exactly.
You know, that doesn't mean that person has this blessed life and has no problems because they've got the sun in Leo in the first house. It just means what that sun represents is going to be ticked and say, yep, that's what you are.
It doesn't
generosity,
have any planets
yes,
sort
tick.
of like challenging
recognition, yes, tick. Fame, yes, tick. No, so okay, so parts of the body, the heart.
The right eye for males and left for women. That's interesting.
And chest. So so that's fairly simple, you know, really. Like when I'm doing some monthly predictions for people, you know, I can get quite detailed when they're going, especially if they have the sun, like let's say the sun's in Libra and it's in the 6th house, right? So it's quite easy for me to say that every time that they have experienced a sun month, that there's going to be some health issue. So that could be, doesn't have to necessarily be their heart, it can be their chest. And if that planet is making an aspect to like Jupiter or Venus by sextile or by trine, that's going to mitigate you know, any sort of malice. And also with the sun in Libra, it's going to have reception. So I'm probably going a little bit too far here, but you know, for the intermediate and advanced students, they're probably going to understand that. So then I'd be looking at, you know, if it was a female's chart, well, then I'm just going to say, you know, your left eye, but I probably wouldn't even say that. I would just say your eyes.
The eyes.
So if it's connected to a money house, and I'd be thinking, well, you're going to, you know, buy new glasses, get your eyes checked, something like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a chest infection, but you know, under certain circumstances, it will represent that. All right, so I think there's probably a lot more we can really talk about with the sun. Have we covered everything?
I think it's interesting in astrology when you kind of look at the sun and as other planets approach it, how the sun is so powerful that it can sort of overshadow the closer that some planets get to it, and how it, you know, the relationship it has with the moon, how it like illuminates the full moon, and when the moon is close to the sun, that's a new moon. So there's kind of, and I guess the sun moves so quickly through the chart compared to some of the other planets, that it's always sort of doing something.
Yeah.
Like day to day, it's moving, it's aspecting different planets.
Yeah,
So
it moves
it's-
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like the moon.
Yes.
I think, the whole thing about the father is really important.
That is very important.
Well, the fourth house is the father, but also the
Yes.
son's the father.
Yep.
And so, you would expect that lady who had her son in the first house, that there would be a connection between her and a father,
because
that
the first house is like the self. And
and the father is
Yes.
placed there.
Yes.
And some people that have their son closer to their ascendant, that's going to tell you that the father, or men, if it's a woman's chart, they're important to them. So
Yes.
their husband starts off with their father. They've got a closeness with their father. Their father's really important to them, and then it's their husband in time.
And if not closeness, at least maybe significance to their story or their journey. Something that plays an important role. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I hope I'm not getting too distracted here. I just wanted to see whether I had another chart that I could bring on. Not really.
So maybe, the Leo ascendant with Sun in Pisces, would that?
Oh, the Leo ascendant with Sun in
But
Pisces?
that's a different kind, because the Sun isn't in the first house.
Well, see, I would have my suspicions whether this person has a good relationship with their father. Oh, same chart, sorry. Because the Sun is in the 8th house, it's what we call aversion. There it is. Okay, so the connection here is the trine with the moon,
and the
that's
fourth
in the
house
first house.
is the father as well.
Yeah.
So there is something to say. Yeah.
The
So it could
yeah.
be. So that might be, if you were doing a reading, you would ask them. You would say, "How is your
Well,
relationship with your father?"
yeah, I would
to find out more.
probably ask them, is there an issue between you and your father? Does your father not really get who you are, And then I'd wait for my answer, but also I'd say, and then I would continue that there is some a nice connection, also maybe a forgiveness of your father, or you get along. Maybe you get along better when you're sharing food, or
maybe they have a connection over that,
in family gatherings and things like that. Yeah,
it could kind of go either way, couldn't it? Yeah, because there is that trine with the moon being there.
Yeah, so it's definitely saying something positive about that father.
Yes.
Or the relationship between this native and his father. And but one thing I do know is that the mother is very important to this native. And
so that be because the MC is there and the south
node more so because the exalted lord of the 10th house is the moon,
right?
So it's bringing that connection also with that person.
Yes.
So we have this person here, the 4th house, and we also have the 10th house.
Yes.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us
Thank
today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we're trying to introduce new people to what the planet represents, give something for the intermediate students and something for the advanced students. So it's just the way that I have to teach in all my classes. I have all different levels. So hope that wasn't too much for the beginners, but if you're a beginner, just stick with what a planet represents and have a think about how that's planet, whichever planet we're talking about, is where it's placed in your natal chart and what sign it is in and what you think it is doing, and how that is representing the person that we're looking at, or that it rules.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.